Welcome to this owner's class video for the Singer FashionMate Model 5560 sewing machine. In this video, we'll show you what you'll need to know to successfully set up your machine for sewing. Things like winding the bobbin, threading the top of the machine, threading the needle, selecting stitches, making a buttonhole, changing the needle, and more. The first thing we're going to do is plug in the machine with the power cord and plug in the foot control and then turn on this switch to turn the machine on. And you know the machine is on when you see the light come on. This is your hand wheel at the side of the machine, and you will always want to turn this toward you. It raises and lowers the needle manually. This is your bobbin winding spindle and your bobbin winding stopper. This is your main spool pin. This is a metal guide, your bobbin winding tension disc. This is your thread take-up lever, your thread tension dial, your reverse button, your presser foot lifter, which is used for raising and lowering your presser foot. This is your needle, your presser foot, your built-in needle threader, and this is your removable storage compartment. This slides off the end of the machine, giving you access to the free arm for things like hemming pants. Inside your removable storage compartment, you'll find a little bag of accessories that has extra bobbins, presser feet, some extra needles, and some other little accessories. Let's take a closer look at some of those extra presser feet that come with your machine. In addition to your general purpose foot that already comes on your sewing machine, you get a Sew Easy foot. It has an extension arm on the side and this adjustable guide you can move left or right, so you can set it for the seam allowance width that you want to sew, and it'll help you sew perfectly straight seams. You get a zipper foot for sewing zippers, of course, but also you can use it for making and inserting piping. There's also a buttonhole foot that you can use for making buttonholes. Your machine also comes with this larger extension table. Open up the leg at the bottom and slide it onto the end of your free arm, and you'll have a large level surface for some of those larger projects you'll work on. To thread our machine, we need to first wind a bobbin. To retrieve your empty bobbin, first take off the removable storage compartment. Open this front cover, pull this latch to remove the bobbin case, and inside the bobbin case you'll find your empty bobbin. This is a Class 15 metal bobbin. If you ever want to purchase additional bobbins for your machine, make sure that you purchase Singer Class 15 metal bobbins. Now let's place the thread on top of the machine. To do that, we're going to raise the spool pin and set the spool on the spool pin. If you prefer to use your thread in a vertical position, you can use your auxiliary spool pin, which is located in your removable storage compartment, to place your thread on the machine vertically. For now, I'm going to use it horizontally, so I'm going to place my thread on the spool pin and place the spool cap on to hold the spool securely in place. For help on how to wind the bobbin properly, you can refer to these purple guides at the top of your machine. Step 1 tells me to bring the bobbin thread into this first metal guide. Number 2 tells me to bring the thread around my bobbin winding tension disc, wrap it around kind of like a little letter E, and make sure that the thread is snugly in the bobbin winding tension disc or the bobbin won't wind properly. Bring your thread to the right and go in from the center out through one of the holes of your bobbin and set the bobbin on the bobbin winding spindle. Hold your thread tail, press the bobbin to the right, then step on your foot controller to begin winding the bobbin. You can stop and use a small scissor to trim your thread tail close to the top of the bobbin and resume winding. You can stop whenever you have enough thread for your project, or you can continue winding until the bobbin is full. When you've got the amount of thread on the bobbin that you want, push the bobbin back to the left and then lift it off the bobbin winding spindle and trim the thread. The next thing we're going to do is place our bobbin in our bobbin case. As a quick reference, you can check the diagrams here at the front of your machine. But let me show you how to do it. You place your bobbin in your bobbin case, like so, and when you pull the thread, make sure the bobbin is turning clockwise. Bring this thread into this little slit here at the side of the bobbin case, and then bring it around this metal tab and pull it until you feel it and hear it click into place. Next, open the door and hold your bobbin case by this little latch. Place it in your bobbin holder until you feel it seat into position with this metal finger pointing straight up. To get ready to thread the top of the machine, first thing we're going to do is raise the presser foot lifter. We're also going to make sure that the thread take-up lever is visible. If it isn't, turn your hand wheel toward you until you can clearly see the thread take-up lever at the top of the machine here. There are thread guides in gray that we're going to follow for threading the needle. If you just finished winding a bobbin, the top of your machine probably looks like this. We're going to take this thread out from the bobbin winding tension disc, but it's already in thread guide 1, so we'll leave it there. And we're going to bring it down this channel on the right, around this U-turn, bring it up to the right side of the thread take-up lever, cross over to the left, and bring it down again, and make sure that you see the thread slip into that hole on the take-up lever. That's very important or the machine won't sew right. Next, we're going to place the thread into this thread guide just above the needle. Make sure your needle is in its highest position, and we're going to use the built-in needle threader to thread the needle. Bring the thread around this thread guide on the left, and then swing it around until the prongs encompass the needle. Lightly hold the thread as you let the threader swing back until it forms a loop. Pull the loop to thread the needle. The next thing we have to do is draw up the bobbin thread. So hold the thread with your left hand, your upper thread with your left hand, turn the hand wheel toward you until it goes down and comes back up, lightly pulling with your left hand until you see this loop come up. Grab the loop, pull it through, and place both threads underneath the presser foot. Close the cover, and we're ready to sew. Now that our machine is threaded, we're ready to test our stitch. When you first turn on the machine, it's already set for straight stitch. So place your fabric underneath the presser foot, lower the presser foot lifter, and step on the foot control to begin sewing. When you come to the end of your sewing, raise the presser foot lifter to remove your work from the machine. When I turn this over and look at my stitch, it looks good on both the top and the back. Top looks good, and the back looks good. When you sew, if the back of your stitching looks something like this, This actually means that your upper thread wasn't threaded correctly. So check your manual or your quick start guide and rethread your upper thread. Now that we've tested our stitch and everything is great, we're ready to sew a seam. Your fabric goes underneath the presser foot and you lower the presser foot, and as you sew, you guide the edges of your fabric along one of the seam guidelines on your throat plate, depending on the seam allowance you want for your project. Because your machine comes with the Sew Easy presser foot, we can change by pressing this lever in the back and releasing the general purpose foot and replace it with the Sew Easy foot. It has this arm at the side with this adjustable guide that you can set for 1/2 inch, 3/8 inch, 5/8 inch, whatever seam allowance you want for your project. So we're going to place this foot underneath the presser foot holder and lower the presser foot holder until the foot snaps in place. Place both of our threads underneath the presser foot, and then when you line up your fabric under here, just place it under the foot, keeping the edge of your fabric lined up with this adjustable guide right here. Sew a couple of stitches to start. Press and hold your reverse lever to sew backwards a few stitches to lock the beginning of the seam. Step on the foot control to begin sewing again, and keep the edges of your fabric lined up with that white adjustable guide on the Sew Easy foot. This will help you sew perfectly straight seam. When you come to the end, press and hold your reverse to sew a couple stitches in reverse. Sew forward again. Raise a presser foot lifter to remove your work. You can cut your threads on the thread cutter at the side of the machine, and here is our seam. Our seam allowance is nice and consistent because we followed the guide on the Sew Easy foot. The reverse at the beginning and end secure the seam so that the seam doesn't become undone as we work through our project. Now let's take a look at how to select stitches. When you turn the machine on, it goes directly to straight stitch. When you look at the front panel of your machine, you'll notice a whole variety of stitches, from utility stitches or basic stitches, stretch stitches, decorative stitches, even buttonholes. And all the stitches have a number underneath them. So to select your stitch, you simply type in the number using these two buttons right here. So to show you how to do that, let's start with stitch number 15. So I'm going to press, so I see a 1, and press over here till I see 5. My optimum stitch width and stitch length are selected for me, and you can tell because you see an underline under each of those two values. So let's sew that and see what that looks like. There's my decorative stitch at its maximum stitch width. So here on the screen, I'm going to use the stitch width button to bring that width down to 4.5. That's going to bring the width of the stitch in a little bit. So let's see what that looks like. So here's the original, and here it is with the width made just a little bit narrower. But we can bring it even narrower yet. Press the width button once again, and it will be even narrower still. And let's see what that looks like. So here we have one decorative stitch that we've changed 3 ways by simply adjusting the stitch width. Let's try a different stitch to see how to adjust stitch length. I'm going to start with stitch number 61, which is this vine stitch. I can see that my default stitch width is 6.0 and the default length is 2.0. Let's see what that looks like. So here's our vine stitch. Now let's make that stitch length a little bit longer so the stitch will be more open. So we'll bring that up to a 2.5. We can see by lengthening the stitch, the leaves are actually spaced out a little bit further because the whole pattern has been elongated. Now let's bring it down to a shorter value. Let's try it at 1.5. So here we have our vine stitch where we brought the stitch length short. So here was our default setting, lengthened and shortened. So you can see how changing stitch width and stitch length on your decorative stitches can give you a whole range of other options for your projects. So just experiment with different threads and different lengths and widths for your projects. Now let's see how to make a buttonhole. When you prepare your fabric for sewing a buttonhole, it's a good idea to use a stabilizer or interfacing on the inside of your fabric to help prevent the dense stitches of the buttonhole from puckering the fabric. You're going to place your button on the fabric and mark with a fabric marking pencil or pen the bottom side of where you want the buttonhole to sew. Then you'll use a ruler to mark the center of the buttonhole. The next thing we're going to do is retrieve our buttonhole foot. To do that, we're going to take off the removable storage compartment and get the buttonhole foot. Open the back of the buttonhole foot and place your button in the foot and close the slider so that the button is secure in the foot. Next, we need to choose the type of buttonhole we want to make. Your machine has a selection of choices down here: round end, keyhole, and bar tack. The bar tack buttonhole is the most commonly used, so let's see how to do one of those. We'll start with number 94. So come up here and select 94. Next, we're going to change the presser foot. Release the existing presser foot and place the buttonhole foot under the presser foot holder. Lower the presser foot lifter to snap the buttonhole foot on. Next, we're going to place the fabric underneath the presser foot. And you might find it helpful to extra high lift your presser foot lifter to help you get the fabric underneath the presser foot. Line it up so that the bottom marking that you drew, you can see in the hole at the front of the presser foot. Lower the presser foot lifter, and then bring down your buttonhole lever, making sure that it's in between these two parts right here of your buttonhole foot. When your fabric is placed under your presser foot in the correct position according to how you mark the fabric, you're ready to sew. So you're going to step on the foot controller, let the whole buttonhole cycle continue until the machine stops. The machine tied off your threads for you, so you can just lift your presser foot lifter and remove your work from the machine and trim your threads. After your buttonhole is sewn and the thread tails have been trimmed, it's time to open up the center of the buttonhole. You're going to use a seam ripper, which you can find in your removable storage compartment, to cut open the buttonhole. It's helpful first, though, to place a pin at one end so that while you're opening the buttonhole, you don't accidentally push this too hard and cut open the end of the buttonhole. Place your seam ripper into one end of the buttonhole and gently work your way, opening in the buttonhole until you've come all the way across. So remove the pin and you have a buttonhole. From time to time, you'll need to change the needle in your sewing machine. The different kinds of fabrics that you sew require the use of different kinds of needles. For example, here's ballpoint. Those are used for stretchy fabrics like t-shirt fabric, sweatshirt fabric, and tricot. There's regular point needles for woven fabrics like silk, wool, and cotton. Both styles come in light, medium, and heavyweight sizes for the light, medium, and heavyweight fabrics. Let's see how to change a needle. Before you start to change a needle, turn off the power to your machine. And here's a little tip. Place a piece of paper underneath the needle area so you don't accidentally drop the needle into the machine. Retrieve the screwdriver from your removable storage compartment. Hold the needle with your left hand as you turn this screw toward you to loosen the needle from the needle clamp and remove the needle. Take your new needle, the flat side toward the back, place it into the needle clamp and tighten the screw on the needle clamp. And you've changed a needle. For more information about your sewing machine, refer to your Quick Start Guide, your instruction manual, or check out the Singer website.